Welcome back to Norwood Digest. Joining me now is Dr. David Thomson, the new but not so new superintendent of Norwood Public Schools. Welcome to Norwood Digest.
Thank you.
So you started in July 1, is that right?
Started officially in July 1. I spent about 11 days in the district prior to that, just to get acclimated to meet people and see how it doesn't do much good to come in July and see how the system's running when most of it's closed down. But
So tell us a little bit about you before you got here.
before I got here, my last stint was I was assistant superintendent in Blackstone Millville, in charge of curriculum instruction, technology, English language learners. I did that for 3 years. Before that, I was the middle school principal in Rainham for 8 years. Before that, I was a middle school principal in Mansfield. And then before that, I was assistant principal in Duxbury for 4 years. And then before that, I was taught in Foxborough for, now I have to look back, but 7 or 8 years, math and science. And before that, I taught in Worcester for another 6 years. So
you've really had the gamut, you know?
Yes.
You know, you've been small, Worcester's obviously large.
Yeah, well, Worcester was a private Catholic school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was where I started.
But Norwood's sort of in the middle, I think, population-wise.
Yeah, it's about half the size of Bridgewater Raynham, but 3,500 is a good size.
So what did you think your biggest challenges were going to be when you got here?
Biggest challenges? Well, I mean, it's always a challenge to come in and really learn what is working and not working in the system. In Norwood, it's really important that you get to know the people in Norwood. I do have several friends who are from Norwood, and it definitely is a multi-generational town, a true community. That's not always the case elsewhere. So, discovering, who the key people are, building relationships are very important in a town like this. So that is, I wouldn't say a challenge. Actually, it's been a joy. The people here are second to none. I've had a very warm welcome, and I can see why people don't leave this town.
Yeah, that Guinness Book of Records thing is not true, just so you know. But people still spread it.
Yeah.
What was the biggest surprise? You must have, when you got here, said, "Oh, I didn't realize this."
Biggest surprise. I hate to say it's a surprise, but I was really taken by the dedication of the staff who work in these schools, and how much they care about not just their job, but the entire system and the entire community. A lot of people who work in the schools have been lifelong residents, and that commitment, that desire, when I meet kids in the hallways, I just met one last week who wants to become a teacher, and guess where she wants to teach.
Oh, yeah.
So that was that level of commitment and passion for the system and for the town was something I haven't really seen elsewhere.
And so, tell me a little bit about your personal life. I see you have a Patriots pin. So
yeah,
I am
I am a huge Patriots fan. Actually, I got up early to miss the send-off thing because I had to drive kind of around Gillette Stadium. I have wife and 2 daughters. We just celebrated our 25th wedding anniversary last August. Avid Patriots fan. Really enjoy spending time with my family and friends. When I leave, the superintendent, school administrator piece, I just want to be dad. I wear suits all the time, but it's usually gym shorts, sneakers, and a sweatshirt and a baseball hat when I get home. So, very active in scouting, and actually that's where I'll be going tonight, is to work with a camp that I ran for 6 years and worked at for 15 years as a youth growing up. So.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So what about the, I know that, well, I don't know what, I made an assumption and I shouldn't. So when you're talking about the staff, I assume you're talking about like the principals, teachers, or are you talking about everybody?
I'm talking about everybody.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. I mean, you have high quality in every single piece. I told Paul Riccardi last June when I was visiting the schools, normally you see kind of things taper off and a few dust bunnies in the corner. Those schools looked like they could open the next day. The amount of time teachers spend here, the passion they have. administrators long-term, dedicated. Can't possibly think of anywhere else to go. It is soup to nuts, and the central office team I actually have to cancel. I have a conflict, so we have to cancel our weekly appointment tomorrow morning, and I'm actually feel kind of sad that I won't get that hour or so to spend with them. So, just great people, top soup to nuts.
So I know that, previously Norwood has filed a statement of interest with the Mass School Building Authority, which I know a little bit about.
Right.
So my understanding is you're going to file again for the Coakley Middle School.
Yes, we are gonna file. We've already signed up through the website to get access. Already started the process. Working closely with Paul Riccardi to get that done. The school committee has voted to move that forward. I am going to go to the selectmen in a couple weeks. But as most are aware, this town did a very detailed building study, looking at every single. And it's a binder about this thick.
I've seen it, and you hired one of my favorite consultants.
Right. Yeah. AI3 blew me away. With the detail and the quality, and there are needs. We have old buildings, but the biggest need, or where we need to start, is probably the middle school.
So, a bad note, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed recently that the school had been given a level 2 status, and so first of all, those tests, is that from like last spring's tests?
Yes, that would have been from last spring's test.
So it's something you inherited, not something that you
right.
owned. So
yeah. And
first of all, what does it mean?
What does it mean? Well, and this is it's a little bit of a misnomer. Being level 1 is about closing achievement gaps. It's not simply increasing scores. You can increase scores, but still have greater space between different groups, and that can cause you to fall. My understanding is that we just barely missed. And the reality is that you have to keep continuing to close gaps, which is difficult over a period. So you will have a couple years where you'll be level 1, you go to level 2, then you go back to level 1. But that's really what it is. I mean, you don't see schools stay level 1 forever. It's not. It's not an over. People think that it's, you earned an A. It's not earned an A. It's about closing a gap, and you can have, and especially where, realistically, it's not the whole school. You're basically just testing 10th graders, sophomores. So if you have a group that comes in that maybe has more of a different population, that might be more difficult.
And so, like the gaps, they're sort of subgroups.
Yeah.
And so, is that a fair question to ask?
Yeah, I would have to go back and look, because I haven't looked at them in a couple months. But basically, there are. You have economically disadvantaged. You have those students who are special ed students, and you also have students who do not speak English as a second language. One thing that has happened here is the numbers of ESL students have increased, so that can cause a dip, and I have to go back and look and see specifically where that dip was.
People should not freak out.
No. If you
people
saw,
should be concerned about it, but it's not. Doesn't necessarily mean everybody's going in one direction. It could be just a small subgroup that hasn't improved as much as they thought.
Right.
And is that a fair way to say that?
That's a fair way to say it. And those improvement goals and where you are based on several previous groups of kids. You have a different set of kids come in. It's not where they are and where they necessarily improve. So yes, that's true. I mean, if you see, dipping down further to a 3rd or a low 2, then it's definitely, it doesn't mean there isn't room for improvement.
Right. And I mean, I know, for instance, Newton, which is one of the better public school systems. They have 2 schools, I think, at level 2.
Right.
And so it's not. It's something to watch, but it's not something to freak out.
Yeah, and it is something you don't see schools, and you don't see the only level 1 districts you see are districts that have 1 school.
Right.
Because having all of your schools be level 1 is really it's really impossible statistically to do that. And we are actually transitioning to a whole new system of accountability that also includes social emotional learning and the culture of the school. So, so several things have changed over the years between Park, MCAS 2.0, the mix that we had last year between the two. So there's a lot of moving pieces to it, but
Okay. Well, thanks for being with us.
you're welcome. Pleasure.
You know, feel free to, if there's ever a time you want to give a message to the community, we'd love to have you on anytime you want.
All right, appreciate that.
Best of luck going forward.
Thank you.